So my name is John Fultz. I work for Wolfram Research, work on the front end, full-time job. And that's what I'm going to be talking about, just an overview of the state of the front end for 2025. So 2025 has been a really big year, and I have a lot of stuff. Not going to go into as much detail as I have in sometimes past, just because the amount of big stuff is happening. The uh, just I kind of use these dingbats here just to indicate stuff that's out there now for 14.3. We haven't had a conference since 14.3, so I'm talking a little bit about it, but also stuff that is coming in 15. And if you have access to a 15 build, some of these things work now, some of these things will be working very soon. Okay, let's go. First of all, dark mode. It's in 14.3. If you haven't tried dark mode, try it today. You can see I'm working in it right now, and it is it is something. So the if you want to switch your global settings, it's in the preferences dialog, but you can also do it on a notebook by notebook basis. So here's what you're seeing in the toolbar here, which I blew up a little bit so that you can see it clearly. Migrating dark mode to dark mode in the Wolfram notebooks is a particular challenge because it's not just migrating our content, of which there is a lot. It's also migrating algorithms and content that is generated by us and by you. So really, we didn't just say, oh, well, there's a bunch of interfaces, we just have to change some colors and job is done. We had to build a system for doing dark mode migrations. That system, by the way, we're publishing. It's going out there. It's called it's in a Packlet. We've been using this Packlet internally for a while. It's called Dark Mode Tools, and we're going to be publishing it to the Packlet repository soon. Noah Hardwick, who was significant leading effort on this project, is doing a deep dive presentation on the dark mode migration and things that you can learn from it in the next half-hour block after this one. So I will try not to go over so you can go to that one. Okay. This really was one of the largest projects that we have done in the notebook front end for years. I was looking at one of our trackers and I noted, and this tracker was not complete, but I noticed, I think, 83 separate development tasks that were being tracked, and many of them were really non-trivial. So we had to work on migrating the default notebook, the style sheets that we use for default notebooks and for the package environment and for many other kind of notebook environments, and dialogues and toolbars and all kinds of widgets and user interfaces and such. We had to worry about the outputs of viz functions, functions like graph, tree, dataset, tabular, things, where color is very meaningful. User-generated interfaces, or programmatically generated interfaces, I should say, manipulate many other sorts of interfaces. Typesetting, there are many places where we use color and typesetting. The documentation, which is a massive task, and there's still some even in version 15. There's still kind of pushing out to the limits. There are some places where we're still kind of tracking down improvements we can make in the documentation, and the color pickers, the very color pickers themselves needed to change. So I'm not going to go into excruciating detail, but I'm going to talk just a little bit about the technology here. So the underpinnings in terms of the language for 14.3, just 5 symbols. Light dark itself is the option which controls whether a notebook is displayed in light or dark mode, can be set global or notebook level. Light dark switched, which is a way to control how to display colors in light dark, in light mode or dark mode. Theme color and system color, which are also, sort of like light dark switch, are sort of related to how to display color. And then light dark auto color rules. I'm going to go into that into a minute. For 15, we're going to be adding a couple more. Dark mode pane, light mode pane. These are just ways that you can kind of conveniently preview content, so you don't always have to go back to that notebook level toggle. If you just want to be able to preview some things side by side, or maybe you have some content that for whatever reason it just doesn't migrate well to dark mode. You just want to kind of frame it, in a light mode context. So let's just do a little bit of work here. The init code is just I have some code here that creates versions of light mode pane and dark mode pane, just so we can see that. So, but let's just look at light dark switch. Light dark switch takes two colors, red and blue. And here we go. When you typeset it by itself, you can see it's just it's actually showing both colors. And when we mouse over, and sorry that mouse over is a little small on the screen, but take my word for it, when we mouse over, you are seeing information that shows you that there's a light mode color and a dark mode color here. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just I just have a graphics expression which uses light dark switch as a color directive. So basically any place you can throw a color, you can put a light dark switch. And I'm just going to show it in a light mode pane and a dark mode pane. So you can see that. And you can see here, because the light dark switch in this case was red and blue, we end up with a red disk in light mode and a blue disk in dark mode. Now, you don't always have to choose. We're willing to choose for you. So if you have a light mode color and then you're just like, just choose the best color for me in dark mode. One argument, light dark switch. And what's going on here? What's going on here is we have an algorithm that basically says, okay, we want to more or less generally preserve the hue in the saturation level to the extent that we can, but we need really to preserve the contrast level. The contrast of red against white, we kind of need to preserve that now against this darker color. And you can see here, I mean, this is a similar case. If we had shown this blue against the dark color, it would not be popping the way it does against white. So this is an example of how we need to adjust. So that's a little bit about light dark switch. Like I said, it works basically anywhere except for rasters. Everywhere else where you use a color, you can use light dark switched in terms of something that displays to the front end. Now, you can't feed it into things that are computational use of colors, like blend. Blend is a function which takes two colors and computes a third color. So that doesn't work. But any place that that is a color display, you can use light dark switched. So that's great. That allowed us to do a bunch of stuff. But then there were some times when it's just like, you know what? Sometimes we just want to pretend that everything in the entire, in an entire zone just effectively had light dark switched one argument form wrapped around all the colors. That was light dark auto color rules. So here I have a graphic, red, green, blue, and once again with my light mode pane, dark mode pane. But now I've set a space style to just set light dark auto color rules arrow all, which is I apologize for that. I have a kind of a glitch in my headset that powers off. That might happen again. So in this case, this is effectively just as if one argument light dark switched was wrapped around all the colors here. So there are more detailed modes that you can use for light dark auto color rules. Look them up. But this is kind of the simplest one and the one that tends to be quite useful. Okay, so in looking at dark mode, we have these these dark mode related symbols that I pointed to, but we also had to think about color itself. And in 14.3, we had, of course, I mean, we've had these name colors forever and ever. And then, I don't know, sometime in version 10 or 11 or something, we added light versions of the colors. And you notice, looking at my dark screen, you can see these light mode versions of the colors, they're not very distinctive, against the dark background. If I were to change this to be a light background, they're pretty distinctive, but they aren't. So it made sense. We should have dark versions of the colors too. So simple, but when dark mode makes you think about these things. But also, we have a problem in that some of these colors just don't necessarily work really well against, kind of uniformly against white and dark. So we also came up with what we refer to as standard colors. Standard colors, it's all the same hues, red, green, blue, et cetera, et cetera. That list is the same, except black and white. They're black and white are just black and white, but all the other colors have standard versions. And the idea here is that these colors are colors that you can rely on to be visible and stand out regardless of light or dark mode. And you will notice, for example, that many documentation examples are flipping over from using just red or blue or something like that to using standard red and standard blue, because that will look better when you're looking at the documentation in either light or dark mode. And that's one of the strategies for this dark mode migration is not just changing all the colors, but sometimes you don't want to change the colors, but you just need to use colors that work well in both modes. So, and that is dark mode. Like I said, please go to Noah's talk to find out more about that. In working on dark mode, so dark mode is 14.3. In 15, and this interface isn't quite ready yet in 15, but in working in dark mode, we always plan to do be able to support theme colors. We didn't have time to do it in 14.3, and we're still nailing down the interface, but all of the infrastructure is there, and I'm expecting this interface to deliver in 15. So here's an example of, this is if you've used programming editors, you'll see this sort of thing. So for example, you might have a choice of colors, like Solarize. Solarize is a popular example of a theme that you will see, across various programming editors. And so our system supports, through this notion of theme color, one of the symbols that you saw earlier, supports the ability to just be able to set all the theme colors. This is, and by the way, you can see here, Solarized has a light mode and a dark mode. So this is dark mode because it's what I have set by default in my system, but I can set it to light mode, and there we go. And that would be the Solarized view in light mode. And so similarly, if we look at blue hues is another theme that we're looking at, and it's the same content, but a different theme. And this is stuff that's just, it's very efficient, and it just works. And we're just putting together really the interface for it. All the infrastructure is already there. We're just putting together the interface for it. So that is coming in version 15. Another thing that is coming in 15, and it's not in 15 builds yet, but boy, have we put a lot of effort into this, is what we've just been calling side notebook. So a side notebook it's like a doc cell, but it's on the left instead of the top. And you'd be surprised how much kind of extra work that involves. For 15, we're looking for a home for a notebook level properties interface. This is where you would be able to set your theme, for example. And then also, we've had this problem with the chatbook interface, where it's, it can be kind of confusing to have this floating chatbook interface. Much better if we can have chatbook inside the notebook itself. And so that's what we're looking at. And so here is So for example, here is, the chatbook interface. And this is, let me resize this a bit, and I can resize this, and you can see everything flows. And I can ask Chatbook to write a prime sieve function, and let's see what it does. And hopefully the LLM will not let me down and will give me some stuff. And by the way, look at this. So we have, this is one of the interesting things, is one of the challenges. We have two scrolling bits. I'm running my scroll wheel through here. And so so now I can, I can say insert evaluate, and boom, there we go. So so now I have something that's entirely in product. Okay, and then also, here's what a notebook properties interface might look like. I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but just to give you an idea of what's coming. So, okay, let me close that up and on to the next thing. Okay, for version 15, we are working on a also inside the notebook, a multi-find interface. And so here's if I want to look for, say, the word get in here, and then notice that I'm now getting multiple highlights. And so now you can see as I'm going through, I can go up and down. We have a replacement interface that's going to be in here too. The replacement interface isn't quite working yet, so I don't want to demo that, but yeah, so this is basically, this is going to be a replacement for our find interface. No more detached dialog boxes. And so, but you might be concerned because sometimes our find interface can be kind of slow. And if we're going to add multi-find to it, won't it get slower? Well, yes. So we had to fix the speed of find. And that's what we're doing. So, so yeah, multi-find just won't work unless find in notebooks gets faster, and not just a little faster, but a lot faster. And so we've been working on that, and we look at the entire chain of things that goes into find, which includes just how the notebook opens up. If you, by the way, if you get this notebook, you have version 15 front end, I don't recommend checking this box because your version 15 front end might be buggy and might end up leading to some notebook corruptions. Mine is special and fixed. And of course, this will be, all live in the final build. But let me just, okay. So the here is where I need to compare with 14.3. Oh, oops. So yeah, so in 14.3, just for a let me delete all the outputs here. And so this is, I chose the help page stream density plot because it is the largest help page. It's like 150 megabytes, something like that. And I'm looking for a word that happens to be close to the bottom of that help page. So if I run this now, in this case, I'm doing notebook find, but if you were to do an interactive find, it's basically the same thing. It's doing all this. It's doing all the same operations, and it's taking about the same amount of time here, 9 seconds. So that's super disappointing. Now, in this case, we can see that if we just look at the timing of the opening of the page, that's pretty fast. But yeah, so this is 155 megabytes. But it's that, it's the notebook find that takes so long. And why did it take so long? Because, in fact, the opening did not do as much work as you think it did. in order to get that fast time, it basically didn't read most of the file. It kind of put off reading it until later. And that, but then there's no getting around it when it's time to do a find. So now I'm stuck here waiting because it's populating the rest of the file. Because it has to in order to know whether or not the word vorticity is in a given spot in the file. So that is 14.3. So if we do the same thing here now in 15, and you can see it's much faster. In this case, 2.8 seconds. It actually on my system, it actually gets much faster if I do it again. If I close it and open it again, I'm getting a big a big hit from my disk cache here. But so now what's going on here, and let's take a look at so the opening of the notebook is slightly slower. It's slightly slower, but it's doing a lot more work. And at this point, it has now read the entire notebook into memory. Everything is parsed off disk. In principle, if you deleted the file off disk, it doesn't matter anymore. In the old one, if you deleted a file off disk, you might end up with a corrupted notebook. Or you wouldn't be able to, or the system wouldn't let you because it had locked the file. So the and now the find is super fast. Again, it's kind of figured out, how to do that find. And, I mean, if I do it again, it's going to be nearly instantaneous. So because now, it's actually remembered everything about the structure of the notebook. It's constructed behind the scenes. It's constructed things that make finding even faster. So yeah, so here's a little bit. I've kind of explained this, but I'm a bit short on time, so I'm not going to go through details here. But a lot of this is stuff I've already explained in words that I just put here. This notebook isn't available yet, but it will be available soon. And there's some textual, there's some stuff you won't be able to run without a 15.0 front end, but certainly you can read through the text here. I also wanted to mention smart labels. If you went to James Lane's talk earlier, you'll have seen this. This is what, so this is actually in 14.3, but it's also improved in 15. So this is what label did in the old days, so we have this label down here. It does not participate in the resizing at all, which is kind of bad, but now it does. Now we have something which is very much kind of, and you can see the label is reline wrapping as it has more space or less space. It's very cool, and I encourage you to go to James's talk to see more about that. Okay, so some things I'm not going to dig into, but I'm including in the notebook here. Core extensions, this was in 14.3. Drag and drop out of the product, this is also in 14.3. And symmetric delimiter insertion. I'm not going to talk about these things because there's just so much stuff going on that we worked on. And it's been a super productive year. I can't wait for version 15 to come out. So we have some other talks coming up. James, like I said, he already gave his talk. I think I think these things will be available recorded somehow. So if you're interested in labeling, you should definitely go to his talk. Noah's dark mode talk is coming up, and then other talks being given by front end personnel or team members: Lou DeAndre, Yutsu, Jason Harris, Itai. And also we have the front end meetup. This just come, anything you want to talk about the front end, I'm going to be there. Lou's going to be there. Ian Hosnicki's going to be there. Jason Harris, all the others. And this is our time to just chat about the front end. You got things, you got questions, you got things that you want to lean on us to try to do, or just figure out how to do something. This is your time. So that's my talk. I'm going to go through questions really quick. It looks like I actually left myself a little bit of time. Okay, so George Woodrow is asking about any progress on split notebooks. So for 15, the answer is, and George is talking about it just having, either two files or maybe two views on the same file. The two views on the same file is pretty common. And the answer is for 15, no, but that the side notebook actually introduces a lot of technology, which I think could be foundational for doing something like that in the future. And then similarly, there was, let's see, Ian Williams asked a question. Any possibility of side-by-side layout where input and output cell could be on the same line? So an interface in principle could be constructed that does this today using grid. There isn't a standard canned interface to do it, but it is in principle possible to do it. I don't think it's my kind of favored way of sort of interacting with the front end, but yes, I think this is a sort of thing that somebody could put together a Packlet or something on the Wolfram function repository to do this, and it could be kind of interesting. Question from Rohit, sorry if I butcher your name. In dark mode, is there a way to turn off dark mode for export or save selection as without switching to light mode first? Rasterize already takes the light dark option, and if I remember correctly, I think in 15 that the light dark option can also be passed to the export function. Those are kernel functions. In terms of save selection as, I think PDF by default is always going to light mode, if I remember correctly. Sorry, come back to the meetup tomorrow. Let's discuss it more. A question from Jason Sonnenberg, new colors visible to humans with color vision deficiencies. That was, if your deficiencies are severe enough, there may be issues, but it was definitely something that we were looking at. Contrast, we were constantly thinking about color contrast in particular. Let's see, and I think that is about as much time as I have. I wasn't able to go through all the questions. Sorry about that. But come to the front end meetup. Love to talk with you. Everyone will be there. So thank you for your time and have a great conference.